are back, and we are joined now by Professor Robert Pape, Professor of Political Science at the University of Chicago, founding director of the Chicago Project on Security and Threats, and publisher of the excellent Substack, The Escalation Trap. Professor, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Emma.
Of course. So this bombing campaign in Iran, which the Trump administration has dubbed Operation Epic Fury, is supposedly aiming for regime change. But your book your research, also on your Substack, has been analyzing air campaigns since World War I. What is the rate of success for air campaigns for toppling governments?
It's brutal. We are O for every effort tried. So the weight of history now is bearing down on President Trump, not just Iranian drones. For over 100 years, states have been trying to topple governments with air power alone. And just, think about what you're hearing now, how magical it would be if everything would just work out in a few days, quick and decisive, almost nobody dies on maybe even on either side except leaders. Well, this has been seductive. It was seductive in the dumb bomb age, seductive even more in the precision age. And I now call it the smart bomb trap, because we're getting trapped. And it has never, and I'm choosing my words carefully, never worked.
Never. 0%.
It's zero. We really don't have. So my book, Bombing to Win, goes through 40 air campaigns. Okay, so just to put some numbers on this, we've probably conducted about another 15 or so, not just the United States, but other countries. Since that book, and I've published an article in Foreign Affairs on each and every one of those, including last summer's, typically before they happen or early on, to explain what to expect. There's another piece by me in Foreign Affairs coming out in a few days, so just be aware. It's the Pape article on the precision air campaign, and all I have to do is just update it with the concrete details, because the same problems come up. And right now you're seeing it's all the target set was splendidly struck on Saturday morning. It really was, but it was always going to be splendidly struck. There's nothing extraordinary about that. We've been doing that for 30 years with precision air power. There's some new tools a little bit, but that 100% tactical success did not lead to strategic success. So it did not take down the regime. It did not even set the regime back from being able to lash back. And then first, your listeners will remember, we talked about, that was just the spasms of the dying body. No, this is a coordinated surgical precision air campaign. These are precision-guided drones. So they are targeting in ways the Air Force, I've taught for the U.S. Air Force on parallel attack. I know quite a bit about all these details. And the bottom line is what you are seeing is Iran taking a page, not just with drones, but the actual strategy of parallel attack. And you're seeing that it's paralyzing the airports. We're trying to now madly rush to get 500,000 to 1 million Americans out in days when the airports are shut down. You see, this is what we're up against now is the typical failure in the smart bomb trap. We're in stage 2. Stage 1 happened. We're now in stage 2. There's a stage 3. So if you've been reading the Substack, you just know what's coming. Okay. And
well, can you explain that? Can you explain that a little bit then? I mean, I want to also go back a little bit in history to talk about the transition from dumb bombs to the precision age and how it hasn't made a difference at all. But take us through the different stages of the escalation trap, also the name of your Substack, but also the smart bomb trap, which is specific to this bombing campaign.
Yeah, so we've always had this allure that we could use air power to take down regimes. We call it taking down the regime. With the precision age, however, once you can highly reliably, 80-90% of the time, the bombs will land within 5 to 15 feet of the target, and the blast radius is 25 feet. Now you know that you can put the bomb right in an office in a building, not just simply on a building or on a city block. That, from the day one of these precision weapons, led to the idea of killing, we call it decapitating leaders. The first precision air campaign in history was by Ronald Reagan, April 1986, to decapitate Gaddafi in Libya. We missed him. He stepped out of his tent, literally seconds before the bombs fell, killed everybody in that tent, including his 3-year-old daughter. And then 2 years later, he retaliated by having his Libyan agents blow up Pan Am Flight 103, killing 271 civilians, 190 Americans, 2 years after, you see. So the bad guys don't have to respond right away. Here, what you're seeing is this is stage one. We have the 100% tactical success on that Saturday. Now we're in stage two, where it has failed to take down the regime or even stop it from coherently lashing back in ways that are incredibly painful to us. And we don't even know where the this enriched uranium is. My goodness gracious, we've got nothing for all this bombing. And so what are we doing now? We're trying to double down. And at the same time, President Trump's looking for the golden off-ramp. He's trying to say, well, what can I claim I was doing? Even though I've given all these videos about I want to take down the regime, what can I say I got out of this? And that's what you see this mad scramble for in Washington. And people are very loyal to the president here. I'm not trying to be I'm very pro-American. It's not about being anti-anybody. But at the bottom line is we are in stage two. And we are not coming out of this very well. And we have unleashed a wicked escalation on the region. And it's not clear to me Iran's just going to stop this. We've been really pushing this tiger pretty hard. And they're now pretty fed up.
I made the mistake of going into your replies on Twitter, and so I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and this is not an argument I subscribe to. I'm just curious.
From the University of Chicago, Emma, I love this, and people are trying. They love the game. Can we get the professor? So that's okay. Let's play the game.
Yes. Well, so this is conservatives are saying that, okay, your theory about this about air campaigns having a 0% success rate, toppling governments since World War I, doesn't take into account the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they would say that that constitutes a success by your metric. What is your response to that?
Read bombing to win, of course. I'm not talking about nuclear bombing. I'm talking about conventional bombing. Gotcha. I make that absolutely clear. See, again, what happens in the game of gotcha here is they sort of pretend as if they've read the books, but they haven't actually read the book. All you have to do is go to Amazon, and you don't have to buy the book. Just go to read the sample, and you will see this completely taken off the table, not an issue here. Now, of course, if Donald Trump decides he's going to turn Iran to glass with nuclear weapons and kill 92 million people, that would be a different story. I will credit that regime change will happen with the death of 92 million people. So this is again, this is the silliness that we get. And it's not just, by the way, social media. This is just what happens in the age of gotcha, where they try to, but let's keep going. I love the game. And maybe they'll score a point. So let's be honest about it.
Right. Keep it up.
I'm glad to hear the laughter of your folks. Let's enjoy. Let's have a little humor in this really tragic,
horrible time. I mean, that's the show's mantra.
I like the game of get the professor. Maybe keep score.
Okay, let's do it. All right. Well, just wanted to ask you about. I was curious about your reaction to that. But let's go back to Iran here. Okay. And if you, hey, sorry about that. So
we'll bring me back on, and you'll have another group of them.
Absolutely. Once we have more time. But I just wanted to ask a little bit more about the history of precision bombing and what constitutes precision bombing, what bombing campaigns looked like prior to this age and what they look like after, and why.
Big Substack. Yeah, just because people want to know about the mechanics, I did a big Substack on this yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, the key thing to know is that word precision, we've used that even in World War II. II. And in World War II, we had a thing called a Norden bomb sight that the British didn't have. And the British bombs fell within 5 miles of their target. So just think about that for a moment. American bombs were called precision because half the time we could get them within 1,000 feet. So just think about that for a second. So had we bombed Auschwitz, for example, a big thing I've studied and written and so forth, we would have likely killed somewhere between 10 and 40,000 Jews in the bombing campaign to destroy 4 of the furnaces, just to kind of put this in some perspective. And that was called precision. Now, what happened is in the 1980s, the electronics revolution, the digital age comes in. So just like digital, we're used to that. And that impacted lasers at first. You could use lasers to guide the target in. Then you could have GPS, just like we have on our phones, even better than lasers. So now we have a mix of laser guided. We used to use radio guided. That was also, but now they can fall, these bombs can fall with the laser guided. You can adjust the fins. So you can literally adjust the fins on the way down. So they fall even in moderate winds within about 5 to 15 feet of a target. Now, if you have a gale, it's not going to work. So Hurricane 1, you don't bomb. You're not going to do it. But this is really the why I call it the smart bomb trap, you see, because what happens is when you get the PowerPoint briefing, and it's going to be spiffy and it's going to look very professional. What does President Trump like to say? Made for TV. It's going to look very impressive, and it's going to be true. We're any target we can visibly see. We have a over 90% chance of destroying that target in just one go round. You might have to put a couple bombs on it, but you will be able to do that. That tends to create the illusion of control. Control over time, not just on that hour of contact on the first instance. So that's really the trap. And I've seen this. I've advised every White House since 2001, 2004, not this one yet, but the first Trump White House. And I've advised chiefs of staff of the Air Force, chief of naval operations, that's top Navy. So secretaries of defense. That issue I'm talking about, it's very seductive. Even when you have super smart folks, so it doesn't matter Democrat, Republican, that temptation of control is really there, you see.
And when you talk about, if I could just jump in for a second, the fact that it's an illusion is really important to understanding here, the illusion of control and the trap that's coming in here, because can you speak a little bit about how your research has found that this kind of bombing campaign and this mode of warfare has increased kind of nationalist sentiment and does nothing except harden nationalist sentiment, but there's bloodshed. We've killed nearly 1,000 or over 1,000 people at this point in Iran, but in terms of effectiveness for the stated goals, that doesn't seem to be on the table.
That's exactly right. So before the bombing happens, there is the society and the regime. And often there's a gap between the society and the regime. And right now, President Trump has a 38% approval rating. So you could say there's a gap between the society and President Trump. But when you take the third actor in, a foreign military attacker, they are coming in and they're picking a government. You hear today, President Trump is literally looking at the list of possible replacements for the guy he just killed. Nope, not going to go there. It's like he's on The Apprentice and he's going to pick you see, this is not going to go down well in Iran. And and what you're doing is you're infusing the idea of nationalism, where the idea is they may not like their leader, but they don't want to be run by Donald Trump or anybody else, Netanyahu, Trump, or anybody else. And so what you're doing is you're changing the game, and you're changing politics inside of the target. And that is fusing that nationalism, the society, and the regime closer together. And it allows the regime to do more aggressive things. It makes it harder for the moderates, the pro-democracy moderates, to go up against their own regime because now they're henchmen of a foreign military power. If you don't mind, and analogies here with America, I think are very helpful. So we know that Iran has tried to assassinate President Trump several times. Well, what if they were to succeed tomorrow? Would Democrats take to the streets in droves, thanking Iran and saying, hey, come on over in New York to Times Square. We're going to party with you. I don't think that's going to happen. And you can see right away, they would lose the midterms badly if they did. That's nationalism here. And it's not because Democrats, of course, have any love for Donald Trump. It's because of nationalism. Same dynamics apply. This is really human nature. It's not a Democratic thing. It's not a Republican thing. It's not a tribal thing. People keep trying to complexify all this. Okay. I've been dealing with a lot of complexifiers for a lot of years. It's not that complex, but it's about politics. And when your eye is on the mesmerized by that technology and you can go poof to any target you can see, you're really not thinking about that politics. And your intel, they can't see this coming because it hasn't come. So you can ask Intel, and I've seen this happen, go out there and get me all the best intel on the emerging nationalism here, and it doesn't come. And that's why in the Substack, I'm giving some indicators here that are a little bit different here. I'm telling you what to kind of keep your eyes on a little bit, and you'll see that over time. I'm going to try to help understand, but the bottom line is that the regime now is probably more resilient than it ever was. This idea that we have destroyed it, they're playing a long game. And that's why Trump's looking for an off-ramp to say, what kind of deal can I get him to accept?
Lastly, what do you anticipate the outcome is going to be now that we are in the trap that you're describing? When you say Trump is looking for an off-ramp, is that even possible?
He can take it. It'll be a loser for him in the short term. So he's not getting out of this with a golden off-ramp, that's for sure. Half of MAGA, half of the Republicans, now it's 44-44. You see what I mean in the Republican support for this. So they're clearly divided on this pretty aggressively. This is not just Democrat-Republican split anymore. And so even if he cuts a deal here, that the MAGA crowd is pretty angry at him right now. Now, if he goes further, he'll then take the risk of becoming Lyndon Johnson in the Vietnam War, where now the cost mounts so much, and and then he quits later. The political cost is even bigger. I'm not saying he'll step down, but you could easily lose the House and the Senate and maybe get close to 60 Democratic seats in the Senate. The Republicans aren't going to forgive him for that. So that's not going to be, these are his choices. Now, wherever he stops, tomorrow or 3 months from tomorrow, we have a wicked problem on our hands. There is 1,000 pounds of 60% enriched uranium, enough for 10 bombs, and another 10,000 pounds of 5 and 20% enriched uranium, enough for a couple more, and we don't know where an ounce of that is. So we can walk away from this, but there's a good chance that Iranian's not walking away from this. They're learning the lesson here that we've taught them a lot of lessons here, and I think that this is really the trap in the smart bomb trap. We are really in a negative sum world.
Well, Professor Robert Pape, thanks so much. The Escalation Trap is on Substack, and you can check it out over there. We'll put a link to that down below. Thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Enjoyed it a lot, Emma.
Thank you.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.